All right, let's go Sunday Night Football here. Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings favored by 3.5 here. 0-1 Falcons. The 1-0 Minnesota Vikings. Kevin O'Connell made the right pick. It's JJ McCarthy.
Nailed it.
Over-under's 44.5 here. I'm loving this matchup. I think this will be a fun one. In another game, it's a very pivotal game, obviously, for Atlanta to not fall to 0-2. And Minnesota, tale of two halves, where they were very incompetent offensively, and then JJ McCarthy in the offense, including Jordan Mason running the ball. They really turned it around in the second half against the Bears on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, whatever about trying to figure out what week one means when it was all the same thing, like, Team X was just like Indianapolis, dominant start to finish. Does that mean anything or not? What do you do with a team like Minnesota who was awful for a half and then figured it out late in the game and pulled it together and they get a win? That's even more confusing. So, it's a huge game because I think you get a better idea of what this Minnesota team actually is, or certainly the offense. I think we know the defense will be good. Atlanta, I think they're still figuring out what this offense is going to look like. Not with Michael Penix. I think they've got a pretty good handle on that. But now, they lost Caleb McGarry, right tackle, protecting the quote-unquote blind side of their left-handed quarterback. But unlike, there are positions where if you lose a guy on the eve of the season, you can pick up somebody else who's still very good, right? Like the Eagles signed Zadarius Smith off the street. Zadarius Smith can start for most teams in the NFL and bring a real impact. You can't find one of those guys at right tackle, right, or left tackle, or any really significant position on the offensive line. If you lose a starter, on the eve of the season, that is now a problem. There's basically no way of avoiding that. So I think whatever the offense was supposed to look like going into that crunch moment, it's going to be slightly different now because you know that your right tackle is now an issue. I think we saw some of that in week one, that they're just figuring out exactly what this thing needs to look like while they have this relatively weak link at right tackle. But you saw late in the game, they're still going to be aggressive. Like Michael Penix Jr., that's within him. It's inherent. You're not going to turn him into a dink and dunk quarterback even if you wanted to. They're going to have that aggressive streak. They're going to attack deep down the field. And honestly, that's probably the way you need to attack Brian Flores and this Vikings defense is if you can pick it up, if you can, buy your quarterback just enough time and make sure you've got bodies to attack that blitz, the weakness is the corners. Like if you can get a ball in the air, you've got a chance of making some plays.
But then you've got to deal with all of the pre-snap recognition.
Yes.
Are there actually going to be those one-on-one
opportunities
with the corners? I think the defenses are the story for both. On both sides here. I think the offenses are going to have a challenge. 44.5, the over-under, as I said. The Falcons offense didn't have Darnell Mooney last week, and he's a big part of that, right? The complement to Drake London, who's your high-volume possession receiver, who, by the way, is dealing with his own shoulder injury.
That's the other thing is there's several major injuries coming into this game that are like vitally important players.
That's my concern for the Falcons. Drake London's banged up. He's expected to practice this week and play, but he's banged up. Darnell Mooney, we don't know as of record time here on Thursday morning. And then you say, okay, well, you've got Bijan Robinson, you have Tyler Algier. Let's get the run game going. That's where Minnesota shines because they're just, up the field, disrupt in the backfield, 8-man boxes as much as any team in the league. And they're tough to run against. Their team defense is very good in the run game. So I think it's going to be difficult for Atlanta to have answers unless Penix hits some of those special throws down the field. I think you need some field flipping, big-time type throws from Michael Penix Jr. here. And then on the other side, I know Atlanta lost and gave up the game-winning touchdown to Baker Mayfield. It was another one of those games. I thought Atlanta's defense was very impressive last week. I really liked some of their hybrid type of players. If you look at NFL Pro, next-gen stats, Divine Diablo leading the team, the linebacker, with 4 QB pressures. They were blitzing him a ton.
Yep.
He was on back-to-back plays blowing up running backs and making plays 20 yards down the field in coverage. Him and just their linebackers generally, blitzing, creating pressure. Their young edge rushers. James Pierce had some success last week. Ruka Rororo pushing the pocket from the interior. I thought Atlanta's front seven looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But there was just a couple plays where Baker Mayfield and Emeka Egbuka were just better. And it was just pinpoint throws down the field that they couldn't cover. And by the way, Baker Mayfield threw 4 passes last week that hit Falcons defenders' hands, and they didn't catch one of them.
Yeah.
And so I think Atlanta's defense is underrated here. I would not be surprised, even in a dome here, Sam, if we see a low-scoring game. Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
Yeah, entirely possible. The Vikings injury report is concerning at this stage, though. So with Falcons, you've got Drake London is a really important player who's banged up and a question mark for them. For Minnesota, though, half the team is banged up at this point. They haven't gotten Christian Darrisaw back yet. Harrison Smith, same thing. Darrisaw in particular, I think, is
Justin School was the left tackle the other night, and there were a few plays where School had some issues.
Correct. Darrisaw is vitally important to that team. I mean, he's one of the best left tackles in the game. They don't have a replacement for him. They lost Blake Cashman in the Chicago game. Remember, Caleb Williams basically ran him out of his own hamstring, just outran him to the sideline. So he's going to miss some time. Jeffrey Okudah and Andrew Van Ginkel are in the concussion protocol coming out of that game. So that's a starting cornerback and one of your most important pass rusher, versatile hybrid players within that defense. They're
coming off a short week. So less time to maybe recover from that.
Exactly. So those guys, I mean, this is a banged up team already after 1 week, and they're pretty important players. I mean, Van Ginkel and Christian Darrisaw, even if you just want to limit it to those two guys, would be 2 of the 3 or 4 most important players on either side of the ball for them.
Then you just have the JJ McCarthy factor, right? We talked about Bryce Young a ton, where he had a Bryce Young career in a game, basically, right? he had Bryce Young's career in one football game.
Yeah, halftime you're like, oh man, the Vikings made the wrong pick. It's time to blow it all up. And then by the full time you're like, wow, look at the grit. Look at the grit. They nailed it.
Call. The kid hasn't lost since middle school. He's got like 3 losses since middle school.
He's got like 3 national championships since middle school. Like he got a national title in some prep school or whatever, and then for like his actual, high school, and then Michigan.
It's just a winner.
Yeah, all he does is win.
So there's kernels of truth in there, and JJ sealed it with a nice keeper. We know he's athletic and he can run the ball a little bit, and he stood in there under pressure and made some nice throws. I thought that was really impressive. At the beginning of the game, I thought his arm looked weak. Passes were dying. He was very tardy
He was late on everything, yeah.
Yeah, like things just weren't there. And by the way, there's a lot of times with young quarterbacks, you can see tangible differences in their timing. And it usually takes weeks, though. Like, it usually is like, man, this dude's just not seeing it. It's really slow. He's late with everything. But by week 6 or 7, they figure it out, or whatever that time period is. It is amazing that it happened within the game for JJ McCarthy. I said the other day, because they were like, Kevin O'Connell, what'd you tell him? He's just, motivating them and say, yeah, we got you. You got this kid. I'm like, I'm just going to call KOC when I'm having a bad day. I'm going to call him, and he'll build you up. So other narrative storyline deal is obviously 2 second-year quarterbacks. Michael Penix was the surprise 4th quarterback off the board. JJ was the 5th quarterback off the board. McCarthy was supposed to be the 4th, right? Penix leapfrogged him, and so there's just fun little storyline in there as well.
Can you imagine what that must have been like for the sort of veteran players of the Vikings on the bench during that game? Whatever about like just watching it unfold, and man, JJ McCarthy looks kind of crap. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, look at the kid.
You know what
can you imagine being like a veteran Minnesota Vikings player? Like for the first half, you're like, oh man, our quarterback stinks. Like we're done.
You know what I don't
like? And then by the end of it, you're like, he's Joe Montana. Let's go.
But I don't like the first half of that mentality, because ESPN was doing it. They were like, let's watch Justin Jefferson. And everybody assumes that every receiver is a diva, and that they want the ball, and that they're going to complain, and we're going to find them yelling on the sideline because they're mad at JJ because he's throwing the ball low. And they were like, let's watch Justin Jefferson. Oh, he's handling it pretty well. Like, everybody assumes that if the receiver only has 1 catch in the first half, or his quarterback's inaccurate, that they're going to be upset and mad. And they were looking for this story that wasn't there. It's like, Justin Jefferson's fine.
Well, they also assume that this is the first time he's seen him play football. It's like, whatever. We are effectively seeing him play for the first time.
Like, they don't practice every day
right,
together.
But the Vikings players see this guy throw the football every day in practice. They have a better idea of what he actually is than the rest of us.
So yeah, I just didn't like that from ESPN the other night and the way that worked out. But I'm looking forward to this game. Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a fun one. Big one, obviously, for Atlanta to not fall to 0-2, the insurmountable start.
It's impossible to come back from.
Vikings by 3.5 here. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think, number one, they're less banged up. Number two, as much as the second half was impressive from Minnesota, the first half was atrocious. And if they don't pull that together, like if that wasn't a genuine moment of like, click, we're back in business, if that offense is going to have struggles like that on a semi-regular basis, the defense can't carry this team. Like, it's good, but it's not that good, particularly with, look, Jeffrey Okudah is the starting cornerback for this team. That on its own is a red flag. You have to assume the guy behind Jeffrey Okudah is worse than Jeffrey Okudah. So, they got rid of other options at corner. Like, this is a team where they're already problematic at corner and maybe going deeper into that depth chart. I am concerned by that.
Oh, now I'm torn on it. I think Minnesota's a better overall team. I think, by the way, Javon Hargrave, 2 sacks.
They were calling him Javon on the broadcast?
When you said that, I didn't know who you were referencing. They were?
Is that a thing?
It's been Javon his whole career, right?
I thought so.
The 2 new additions, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, per, NFL Pro Next Gen Stats? 6 pressures each. I mean, I really think we're looking at a low-scoring game. I'll take Atlanta, though. I'm trusting the film that I saw last week that Atlanta's defense will keep them in it.
Fun schematic matchup. Brian Flores against our former colleague, Zach Robinson.
Yeah, I wanted to text Zach about it, be like, how do you prepare for this thing? But I'll wait.
Tough matchup this week, huh?
If he hits on a couple big plays, I'll be like, man, how'd you figure that out?
Yeah.
If they fall to 0-2, we'll talk maybe in week 3.
Right.
Let it breathe. That's one of the difficult things. Like, when do you reach out to people? Like, how upset are people with losses? I feel like they would eat at me for days, but you got to get back at it.
Well, also, like, how do you react to a text that comes in? It's like, man, brutal assignment this week, That I feel like that might piss me off if I was.
I was going to send that to Bobby last week and last year when he was facing Flores, and it was. He got sacked like 6 times, and they couldn't pick anything up. So
maybe they don't. Maybe they just, it's just part of the weekly.
It's just the job.
Maybe it's fine. Yeah.
Just doing the job.
Anyway, I'm going Falcons.
Flores and Zach were in New England together in 2010
as QB and.
Like Flores,
coach.
I remember him telling me Flores was like breaking in at that time.
Like linebackers coach or whatever.
I think Flores was the guy that like picked him up at the airport after he got drafted or something like that. So full circle here, Sunday Night Football.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?